afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to the April Brown Bag Equity Series. I am Dr. Michelle Woods, the proud Interim Administrator of the Access, Equity, and Acceleration Unit. Now, as you know, this year we have had so many dynamic speakers, Dr. Tyrone Howard, Dr. Nikki Sandoval, Dr. Parham, and our very own local district Central Superintendent Francis Bias. So you know that we seek educators and experts in the field and in our communities who address our need to learn more about how we can best serve our students, families, and school communities. So today is no different. We will hear from experts in the field, our very own students from LA Unified, who will share their journey. What has worked for them and what insight do they have to make it better? Before we begin, on behalf of the Brown Bag Series, I want to thank Dr. Brenda Manuel and Dr. Lorena Franco, Administrator and Specialist from the Student Empowerment Unit. They continue to ensure that we hear student voices and they provide programs to make them thrive. And Dr. Gillenwaters, who was instrumental in planning today's series. Now that what we've all been waiting for, I would like to introduce our moderator, Katlynn Slayton, an LAUSD alum. Katlynn from Wilson High School, Katlynn Slayton is a fourth-year student at UCLA working towards her BA in Psychology and Education Studies. Katlynn currently serves as an academic peer counselor and as the head instructor of her own 2-unit course dedicated to teaching incoming Bruins about leadership under the lens of student-initiated retention efforts.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Brown Bag Equity Series event. Thank you so much, Dr. Woods, for the introduction. Today's Brown Bag Equity Series event will cover courageous student voices. My name is Katlynn Slayton, and I'm a fourth-year senior from UCLA, graduating this spring with a bachelor's degree in psychology and education. I am a proud product of the LAUSD school system and graduated from Woodrow Wilson High School in East LA back in 2017. I am beyond honored to be your moderator and MC for today's event. Today, we're going to be focusing on highlighting young student leaders as they share their courageous stories on authentic student voices. It is essential that we listen to our students at such an unprecedented time. And I, much like you all, am looking forward to hearing what they have to say. You're going to be hearing from 4 incredible young students who have used their individual talents, strengths, and determination to thrive both inside of the Zoom classroom and outside of it. I'm immensely proud of each student we are having on our panel today, as they each have demonstrated what it means to be a resilient leader during such a trying time. I'd like to remind you all that you will be able to interact with our panelists today by submitting questions with the Q&A feature, as well as with this participation poll and mentees. So please feel free to scan the barcode here or input the code on www.menti.com to directly interact with our panel and our students today. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the introductions of our courageous student leaders. To begin, we have our first courageous student, Kamarie Jackson, a senior at HArts Academy of Los Angeles. Kamarie Jackson is a senior at HArts Academy of Los Angeles and has been there since his freshman year. Over the years, he has participated and joined many clubs and school organizations such as Debate Club, BSU, National Honor Society, and theater. He is currently the ASB Student Council President, the Black Student Union President, and chairman of the School Side Council. He is heavily involved in LAUSD, where he has participated in many events and serves as a student representative on the newest Black Student Achievement Committee. He has also been a part of the theater program, where he has participated in many different musicals and shows. Just last year, he was designated as gifted and talented for music and singing. He was also nominated for the Jerry Herman Musical Theater Awards for Best Male Actor. Whew. He believes in the famous motto, if you take care of God's business, God will take care of you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our first courageous student, Kamarie Jackson.
Thank you, Katlynn. Hello, everyone. My name is Kamarie Jackson, and I'm a senior at Humanities and Arts Academy of Los Angeles. Next will be a video of myself and who I am, explaining who I am inside and outside of the school campus. Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Katlynn Jackson and I go to Humanities and Arts Academy of Los Angeles and I'm currently a senior. Fun fact about me, I got accepted into UCLA and I will be attending UCLA in the fall of 2021. Go Bruins! um, One of the things that interests me is gospel music. I love, love, love listening to gospel music. Actually, one of my favorite gospel groups and artists are the legendary Clark Sisters and Dunder Clark Cole. Listening to gospel music, um, it it makes me joyous throughout my days. It makes me happy. It keeps me going. I just love, love, love listening to gospel music. The big question that everybody wants to know about me is, who am I inside and outside of school? Well, the answer to that is me. Simply being me, which is being kind, loving on others, being compassionate, helping others. One of my biggest goals is becoming a lawyer for the United States Air Force, the military. And so inside and outside of school, that is who I am. Just kind, loving, helping others, being there for others, showing my support towards others. That's not just my family, but just many others as well. My favorite hobbies is listen to gospel music, of course, and singing and hanging out with my family. Singing, I've always been singing since I was a little kid, and singing is what it's what keeps me joyous throughout my days. It's what keeps me going. It's what keeps me strong. I love singing. And then within that, spending time with my family. During this pandemic, many people haven't been able to spend time with their families, but I've been able to have the opportunity to spend time with my family. And so I love watching movies with my family, going out to eat, whatever it is. I love spending time with my families. Um, One thing that I wish people would know about our generation is that we have perseverance. We know how to persevere through the obstacles that we face. We know how to overcome through the obstacles that we face. We're strong. We're strong minded. We have great minds. We have great ideas that we want to show to the world. That's what I want people to know about us as young people and who we are. I'm hoping that this will be able to get a chance for you to know about who I am. One of the things that I like to do as well is travel. I've always traveled I've been able to travel to Vegas and things like that. But one of the places I want to go is Paris, France. Paris is to me, Paris is so nice, and that's where I want to go. And so traveling is one of the things that I like to do and that I want to do as well. I'm hoping that this is able to give you a chance to know a little bit about myself and who I am. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Khale, for your introduction. And I just want to say, go Bruins. They are lucky, lucky, lucky to have you. So I very much look forward to see what impact you're going to have there. Next, we're going to introduce our next courageous student. This is Michelle Cruz, a senior from Monroe High School. Michelle's a senior from Monroe High School. She is involved in various activities because community is an important value to her. She plans to continue exploring her interests and furthering her education to hopefully give back to her community one day. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring Michelle in so she can discuss a little bit more about herself and why she's here today.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Cruz and I'm a senior in the Law and Government Magnet at James Monroe High School. And the next clip is going to be a small video that I made so you can get to know a little bit more about me and my LAUSD journey. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Cruz and I'm a senior in the Law and Government Magnet at James Monroe High School. At school, I love to be involved in a bunch of clubs because it helps me feel that I'm more a part of the community. So right now I'm currently involved in the Academic Decathlon, the Activist Club, the Spanish Club, the Big Brother Club, and I enjoy volunteering during lunch at the library. Being a part of these clubs, I'm not only able to work on my leadership skills and create friendships that maybe I wouldn't have created if I weren't in them, but I'm also able to give back to my school community. When I'm not at school or taking part in club events or doing homework for school, there are various things that I enjoy doing at home, and some of those include reading novels that interest me at the moment, doing puzzles, hanging out with my siblings or friends, and occasionally when I have the time, working on my baking. Similarly to the way that I love being involved in my school community, I also think it's really important for me to get involved in my community in general where I live. And some of the ways that I choose to be involved in my community is through being involved in my church. I've also been a part of various councils such as the Mayor's Youth Council and the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And on those councils, I'm able to voice my concerns or opinions about what I think can be done to make the community that I live in and the school district that I go to better for all those who are involved in that community. So now a little more about who I am as a student. So I have been part of the LA Unified School District since 2008 when I started kindergarten. And although I may be a relatively successful student now, that wasn't always the case. I used to think that my mom sending me to school was her best punishment. And thankfully, I've grown out of that mindset, and I've actually found that learning and going to school is one of my biggest passions. I love learning new things, and I'm thankful that I've encountered encouraging and uplifting administrators, teachers, staff in general who have always been there to encourage me and help me so that I know that I'm capable of greatness, who are always pushing me to reach new levels and strive for the best. Thanks to the support and encouragement that I've received from countless administrators and teachers, I'm thankful and excited to have matched with Amherst College through the Questbridge Scholarship, where I will be starting school in the fall. Ultimately, my LA Unified journey has taught me that it is important to take advantage of opportunities that prompt growth. Because when you're putting yourself in environments that call for growth, you're setting yourself up to be successful, especially when you're growing as a young leader or as a person in general. Putting yourself in situations that demand more of you and that show you that you can be great. They help you grow as a person and be successful. Hi,
Thank you, Michelle. Congratulations on your match with Amherst College. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it and more about your community mindset during our panel today. With that, I'm going to introduce our next courageous student, Kamarie Brown. Kamarie is a senior at Crenshaw High School, born and raised in South LA. She's a proud African-American woman and a Crenshaw High School senior. Having seen her peers directly impacted by educational inequalities, she feels it is her duty to represent and be the voice of all students. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Kamarie to further discuss who she is both inside and outside of the classroom.
Thank you, Katlynn. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kamarie Brown, LAUSD student board member and a senior at Crenshaw High School. And next will be presented a short video clip to familiarize you all with who I am inside and outside of school. Hi, everybody. My name is Kamarie Brown, and I'm a senior in District 1 at Crenshaw High School. Since an early age, I've understood the importance of a good education. Growing up in South Central LA, I could see all around me the lack of opportunities. The decades of disinvestment has left us with limited resources to make something greater for ourselves and our communities. But I knew that a good education could unlock closed doors and allow me to develop to my fullest potential. That dream is what has brought me to become the first Black woman to be elected as LAUSD student board member. I wear multiple hats. I'm Crenshaw school-wide president, as well as this year's valedictorian. I'm a big cousin, a music lover, a poet in practice, online shopper, and I love me some food. And above all, I'm a socially conscious and politically ingrained student. I organize and lead a 250-member student base on campus, where I, amongst other youth leaders, gather and discuss different social and political issues that are affecting the student body and our community at large. I have been on the front lines of supporting my community during the COVID-19 pandemic by organizing 2 separate relief funds. I was able to distribute necessary personal protection equipment, rental and utility assistance to over 100 families. I accomplished all of this despite having so much stacked against me as a system-impacted young Black woman. The love of community is in every aspect of my being, and I look forward to embodying what it means to be an agent of social change in the future. I am a young Black girl from South LA. I am your future presidential candidate. I am Kamarie Brown. Thank you for listening.
Go ahead, Kamarie. Much like everyone in the chat, I am incredibly proud, and I look forward to hearing more of your thoughts during our panel. So last, but certainly not least, I'm going to introduce our final courageous student participating in today's panel. This is Ernesto Alvarez, a senior at Harbor Teacher Preparation Academy. He describes himself as a motivated and resilient student who loves to learn, but makes sure to dedicate time to initiatives focused on different social issues. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ernesto to tell you a little bit more about himself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ernesto Alvarez. I am a senior at Harvard Teacher Preparation Academy in local District South, but hopeful future Blue Jay at Johns Hopkins University. And I made a quick video for you all so you can better get to know me, who I am inside of the classroom and, of course, outside of the classroom. Hello, everyone. My name is Ernesto Alvarez, and I'm a student from Dr. Richard A. Vladovic, Harvard Teacher Preparation Academy in Wilmington, California. When it comes to me as a student, I like to describe myself as a very studious, ambitious, and really curious learner. For example, I always take advantage of any academic opportunity that comes my way, whether in a school setting or just learning information online. Additionally, I like to involve myself in a wide variety of STEM and humanities extracurriculars, such as policy debate, robotics, MESA, Academica, and more. Also, when given the opportunity during our school summer sessions or interviews, I like to volunteer my time to help out teachers with returning to campus after break or interviewing potential students to our school. However, when it comes to a person, who they are in school is not the only thing that matters. For example, when it comes to my family and friends, I like to think of myself as a very fun and sociable person who loves to hang out with my friends, family, and of course, my dog. Additionally, I involve myself in a handful of different non-school sponsored activities, such as 2 student-led organizations and a startup application, all focused on different social issues in an effort to benefit our communities. And to ensure I keep up with my naturally inquisitive personality in school, I try to learn information on a variety of topics: mathematics, history, science, you name it, through different books I have at home, the internet, or truly whatever other medium available to me. Even though I keep myself on a very busy schedule inside and outside the classroom, I like to always remain mentally grounded and ensure that I am having a good time. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak at this opportunity. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much, Ernesto. So with that, on behalf of myself, the Brown Bag Equity Series team, and all of LAUSD, we would like to thank you so much for being here and being willing to share your incredible thoughts and experiences. So now that we all have gotten a chance to meet our lovely panelists, we're going to go ahead and bring them on to begin our panel. So to begin, you all are obviously here to share your courageous stories and your authentic voices. So how important do y'all believe it is to include students in the LAUSD decision-making process?
I believe that it is very important to include students into the decision-making process in LAUSD. A lot of the times, you know, we as students, or even me myself, we see the district, you know, they hear the voices of the parents, they hear the voices of the administrators, they hear the voices of the adults in the room, but oftentimes they don't hear the voices of we the students. A lot of the times they tend to think that what the adults want for our students is what we want, but in reality, that's not what we want. And so within that, I believe that we as the students, we need our voices heard. We need to be on those boards. We need to be on those committee groups so that the adults in the district knows, okay, this is what our students need. This is who they are. Okay, let's adhere to what they want, not only for themselves, but for many others whom they are connected with.
No, I absolutely agree. I definitely wish that I was able to participate in something like this when I was in high school. So it's incredible that you all are here, and I'm sure this will not be the first nor the last time that we have an event like this. But Michelle, I see that you want to add something to the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I agree with everything Khale was saying. And also the school district has to keep in mind that the students are the ones that are being most impacted by the decisions that they're making. So they should have a say in what's going on. Even though parents know best most of the time, students do know what they need, often better than their parents know what they need. So it's important to have that voice in there.
Absolutely, Ernesto, and then we'll go to Kamarie afterwards.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to add on to that idea. I know when it comes to us as students, I think only the administrators and the teachers can only really guess what their students need to the best of their ability, but you won't really 100% be able to know truly what students need from the student perspective to succeed and thrive and whatnot, unless you're able to talk to those students themselves. The best you can really do is just get an educated guess by getting only the advice of administrators.
Yeah, agreeing with all from what they said, the students are really like the first-hand experiencers rather than like the second-hand learners. So it's like you really have to, like, we go through everything that we're talking about, we go through it every day, and it's not just like he say, she say, it's more like a we say thing. It's like we're not just complaining about what we want or what we need. And it's like for us to kind of be left out of the conversation, that's kind of why I really wanted to be student board member, because it's like, you know, the student voice, quote unquote, matters, but does it really? So I really, 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 really do think that, you know, like they said, you really can't get, it doesn't get any more like raw than talking to the students like themselves. So yeah, I agree.
No, absolutely. We'll go to Khale last, and then we'll move on to the next question.
Thank you, Katlynn. Agreeing with what Kamarie was saying, which is very, very heavy. You know, with what's been going on with the pandemic, you know, the death toll rising in LAUSD and in many other counties due to you know, students feeling like, you know, nobody's hearing them, due to students feel like nobody's caring about them. It's very important that the district adheres to our voices, because, you know, oftentimes we as students, we feel like, okay, you know, the district is saying this, but yet are they really going to come through? You know, a lot of the times they're making decisions, but it's like, okay, are they really paying attention to what we need? And oftentimes I feel like, you know, we as the students, we're suffering. And it's like, you know, if our voices don't get heard, if nobody adheres to what we desire, not only for ourselves and in our peers, but for in the school district, then how do we survive? How do we plan to succeed and go higher in life if no one takes that time to really sit down and see, okay, what is it that we need? What is it that you know, that they need from the district? How can we help?
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for your responses. I believe all of you touched on some very important things, including the needs and desires of the students and how essential it is to hear that and to have them on platforms such as this to be able to vocalize those things. You all also touched on some important events that are currently going on and have been ongoing since the beginning of the pandemic. So my next question for you all is, in light of the recent events surrounding a rise in hate crimes with Asian Americans and people of color, as well as issues of police brutality and the unfortunate killing of Dante Wright, how can administrators and educators best support students during such unprecedented events and times? That's a deep question, I know. Incredibly. I know for me, something that I wish I would have seen a little bit more when I was in school, since police brutality has been, you know, something that's been consistent for generations, I definitely wish that I would have had a space in school to be able to discuss these things, whether that would have been some type of focus group or even like a space where students could really grieve. Because although it may not directly impact us, especially if it happens in other states or other areas of the world, it's still something that indirectly affects us and something that we think about and we have to carry with us throughout our educational journeys. Does anybody else want to touch upon what they feel like educators and administrators can do? Khale, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I do actually. And the one thing that keeps coming to my mind right now is communication. A lot of the times, you know, whether it's the police force, whether it's educators, whether it's the administrators, they feel like, you know, when talking to us, they can talk to us however, they can act however, and they think it's okay. You know, a lot of the times, I don't think they really understand what they say and how they act towards us. You know, it's very impacting, and you know, and it's like it's communication. They really need to communicate. They need to open up the doors to where we as the students can really sit down and talk and discuss how we feel, you know, what's going on. Because if that never happens, then it's like, you know, it's going to be a deeper deeper hole that we're going to go into. And it leads to things like suicide. It leads to things like, let me kill myself because nobody wants me here. It leads to these negative thoughts in our minds because we feel like the justice system doesn't care. We feel like the administrators don't care. And if it gets to that point, then it's like we're going to be suffering so much. You turn back and you look, okay, wow, what's going on with our students? Well, nobody came to the forefront to say, okay, wow, let's talk to our students. Let's open up this discussion. Let's open up a room so that our students can feel comfortable, so that they can come to us instead of not feeling suffered and worried as of what is going on.
Absolutely, communication is key. But I see we'll go Ernesto and then Kamarie for your answers.
Yeah, I really like what Khale, he definitely made some great points. I also feel like let me also lower my hand. Don't forget, what we also should be doing is that when it comes to the schools and administrators and teachers, not essentially them kind of teaching students like what they should or should not be doing when it comes to these kind of social issues, environmental issues, pandemic issues, but helping springboard any kind of ideas that they have. So let's say if they want to set up like a drive like next to the school to help deliver supplies, or if they want to help create a club that can have an impact reaching outside of the school to help on social justice, so that they can be like a facilitator for the club, or helping if they have a platform with an idea, they can help spread that idea. Like the administrators talk between each other saying, hey, we have a great student. Maybe you have a student at your school who is also really interested in seeing how we can look at different lights on how we can reform things like the justice system. Let's see if we can get these people connected, or if we can set like a kind of branch show. Not essentially the teacher saying, okay, here, you're going to go to this protest, or you need to support this cause. But if the students have an idea or a desire to create some sort of change, see how they can kind of support them, but also definitely listening to them, because once again, you won't really know how best to support them without listening to them. So I guess listening to them, help supporting them, and hopefully we can start having future leaders of change in the world from all the way since high school. They don't need to start at adulthood.
Thank you, Ernesto. For me, I just feel like it's extremely important that we really make time and take time to process our own feelings and become aware of like the way our own identities and experiences shape the perspectives we hold. So with that being said, I just really feel like administrators and teachers should really like they said, just give us that space to really unpack how we feel, what we feel, and instead of really just trying to go on with the lesson, because I feel like just going on with the lesson is kind of adding on to the problem just in the classroom. And I just feel like it's super disrespectful, because something can have just happened super duper, like, I don't know, very viral on Monday, and on Wednesday we're talking about what is X plus Y. And I just feel like it shouldn't be like that. It should really be more about, we should really have these serious conversations. Even though it didn't happen in a classroom, it can really affect somebody, or it can be the next person that's in the classroom. So in order to not really continue on with the cycle, we really need to have those serious conversations. Even with the younger students, it can be as just sensitive, it don't have to be as a serious conversation as it is with the high schoolers, but it can be just, having a group project about this, or just, I don't know, creating protest signs, just coloring, or I don't know, just something to really to unpack that. So I just think that's what I think.
Absolutely. That type of social and emotional support is key for students, especially since, we're at an age where we're still trying to develop those skills. So it's important that administrators and educators are able to kind of facilitate that within their own classrooms. I think a lot of times we as students are underestimated because, you don't know what you want. You're not sure. A lot of times students are aware of what they want and what they need. So it's important that we have events like this where folks can see you and hear you and vocalize their respect. So Khale, I see you have your hand up, so we're gonna go ahead with you, and then I'll move on to another question.
Okay, thank you, Katlynn. Thank you. I really appreciate that. This is what I'm going to say. We see everything. We as students, we see everything. Who would have thought that in 1 year we would have seen over 100,000 deaths. Not only from old people, but from young ones as well. Who would have thought that we would have seen so much police brutality and so much hate crime, to our young people and then to our students. And one of the things that came to my mind was that I feel like the administrators, the higher ups in LAUSD, the district board members, they need to implement sensitivity training. They need to implement sensitivity training, not only for the teachers and the faculty members, but for the police as well. And I say that because, and like I said before, their actions and what they say, they never know how it may come off or how it may impact us. And so by implementing sensitivity training, it's going to show them, okay, you need to take time, to talk to students, to take time to, cool off for a couple of days. For example, if an issue just arose on Monday, like Kamarie said, come Wednesday, there should be no reason why that we're trying to get straight into the book work. It's like we just experienced something tragic, and it's like you guys just take it out the window and act like it's like as if it doesn't matter, or we don't, like as if you guys don't care about us as the students. And so by implementing sensitivity training, it's going to really help. And it's like, that's what we need. That's what we need.
Absolutely. I do see we have, I want to acknowledge, thank you so much for sharing. It's very important, I think, for educators to understand that even providing such a small window of space before a lesson or before you do begin something to allow students to maybe vocalize how they're feeling, to discuss issues at hand, like that's important, because a lot of times you also have students who don't have these support systems at home to be able to discuss these things as well, or they can be grieving as a family to the things that are going on. So it's important that we have these spaces. But I'm going to go ahead and take a question from Kamarie in the audience. Thank you so much for putting something in the Q&A section here. So in relation to social and emotional support, as we've been discussing, Kamarie wants to know if you can share some suggestions on how teachers can provide a space and further support of understanding what students' experiences are during times such as these. I shared a little bit about maybe creating some space and some time before a lesson to be able to discuss these things. Do any of y'all have other suggestions or things that you can think of that can help with that support?
I think rallies in a sense. So for example, coming together, whether it's as a school or even as a club, coming together to like you said, to create that space for students to discuss those things, or even within that, have guest speakers come out who specialize in those kind of different areas and say, hey, and give tools and tips on what they can do to help the students, what they can do to help the administrators, aiding themselves and to helping the students, helping the students in that way.
For me, I want to say just simply taking the students outside and just getting some fresh air can possibly be what we need, because we're always in the classroom. It's kind of like how it is now, how we're always just between four walls and virtually. But it's like, say something had just happened on Monday, Tuesday, maybe we can just all just take a walk outside. I don't know, do some poetry slams. Just see, I feel like the teachers really have to analyze their students and see what exactly are their students intrigued in, or what do they do like to do in their free time, and whatever that is, based on that, maybe he or she can create a group project with, I don't know, a rap or something, just making it fun and not really dwelling on it, but dwelling on it positively, not really just trying to reflect negatively back on what has happened, even though we have to do that to really get ourselves right, but really taking that and kind of doing something holistically. So yes.
Thank you, Kamarie. Michelle, I see you have your hand up.
I forgot to unmute myself. But yeah, I agree with everything that everyone said. I think it's important to take breaks from learning. Yes, learning is important, but if we're not in the right mental space to learn, we're not going to learn anything. We're just going to be thinking about whatever is stopping us from learning. And I think that we need to learn how to take breaks from not education, but from learning things, because if we're constantly putting things into our brain and not actually processing things, especially things that lead to emotional trauma or things that we can't really discuss most of the time, it's just not going to end well, and it's going to lead to bigger problems with our mental health. And actually, one of my favorite classes right now is advisory, and I know it's not really a class, but in that class, the teacher She opens discussions about things that maybe we don't often talk about, or sometimes she just lets us sit there and listen to music because we just need those breaks, especially now since we're constantly going and going. It's hard to stop because everything is so easy. You just hop online and do your work or join a Zoom meeting. It's not that hard, but it does take a toll on your mental health. So we do need to learn how to take breaks.
I completely agree. I think that, especially in light of current events, where we have to be online, education can seem really transactional. So it's difficult to kind of be invested in that, But Michelle, you touched on a really good point with mental health. I think, for me personally, as an LAUSD graduate and someone who has, been in the LAUSD system since, I started attending school, I think one thing that administrators, policymakers, whomever needs to focus on is expanding mental health resources for students on their campuses. I think at my high school, we had one counselor who was only there 2 days out of the week, so if you have the counselor there Monday, Wednesday, but a student needs you on Thursday or on Friday, you don't have that individual there who's specifically trained to be able to help with these social emotional skills. So, providing, more counselors, more readily available counselors, having, maybe discussions like this, or a course where, we can learn how to handle our mental and even physical health on an intimate level. Expanding those resources can be very essential. But Khale, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you, Katlynn. And I'm going to be very honest, and I'm going to try to be very transparent here. I wish that a lot of our teachers, administrators, and faculty members would stop having the notion of this is not a daycare. They would stop having the notion. They would stop having the notion of, the students, you guys are suffering. We're not counselors, so this is not our job. Foolishness. Because at the end of the day, in my mind, I feel like my soul matters, my feelings matters, and if it was the adult who was going through issues, if it was the adult who was going through problems, and they would want somebody to adhere to what their issues want, they'd be the first one on the front lines at the UTLA at the UTLA meetings, at the district meeting, saying this is what we the teachers want, this is what we need. And so I feel like the teachers, the administrators, the faculty members needs to stop thinking in their mind that this is not a daycare center. No, this is foolishness, because we the students matter. We matter. And sometimes I feel like they think in their mind they can handle it. No, because if you were able to handle it, then you wouldn't be having the kind of job that you have now. And so I feel like they need to be able to calm down, sit, and adhere to what the students need, adhere to what we really need as far as our emotional, social, economic needs, and things like that in that era. Thank you, Katlynn.
No, thank you. I just feel like I went to church. Oh my gosh. No, thank you. That was preaching right there. I wholeheartedly agree and think that there needs to be, and we're not going to generalize this to all teachers, of course, but there needs to be a mindset change in education overall. We're not here to adhere to what is best for them. It's what's best for the students. So I wholeheartedly and completely agree with everything that you said, Khale. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to touch a little bit more on student voices and student involvement. I do have another question in the chat that's asking, so what are some recommendations about how student involvement in decision-making within LAUSD would look like, and how can they include a diverse range of student voices? Kamarie, I know you in particular are a member of the school board, so maybe you could touch a little bit on that, or on ways in which to increase the diverse range of student voices. With you being the first African-American woman on the school board, how important is that, and what are some ways that administrators can make that more accessible for students?
Yes, thank you. So first and foremost, I want to start by saying just being a student board member has been an incredible experience. I have learned so much just by being quiet and listening and talking when it's time to talk. But I really feel like when it comes to more student representation, because for me, I just really took a step back. I'm like, hold on, it's one of me and I'm representing 600,000 students when there's 7 board members And like, I'm like, oh, okay. But just for me, I just feel like it can be a little bit more inclusion instead of just having, I don't know, maybe one student board member, maybe each board member can have their own, I don't know. I was just having suggestions, like maybe each board member can have their own student board member. So therefore, you know how it's board districts 1 through 7. So it's a student from their board district, which is kind of like, you know, already inclusive and diverse in that way. And then, you know, just having them represent, I don't know, their district, and then they can have their own committees. I don't know, just really trying to get more students involved instead of just having me's and just one of the me's. Like, I don't think that's kind of fair. I don't think that's fair at all, honestly, because it's kind of difficult, like, especially virtually. You know, how I'm really going to talk to all of these students or really get to know you know, I can't really physically get to know 600,000 students. It's just impossible, right? So, you know, just having those, you know, connects and those type of outreach platforms. The Student Advisory Council is another one that is super, super duper inclusive. So just, I don't know, expanding that more. And yeah.
No, I hope everyone in the audience has their pen and paper out, because y'all are giving some incredible insight and incredible ideas. Ooh, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to Khale, and then we'll go to Michelle afterwards.
All I'm going to say is, I mean, what Kamarie was touching on, those are great ideas, and I'm going to be very blunt about it. Some people may not like me, but at the end of the day, I don't care. I kind of feel like by adding one student on to represent all students in LAUSD it's foolishness, because it's like the one question that comes to my mind is, do you really want to hear what our students have to say, or are you just trying to pacify our feelings? And like Kamarie said, I feel like Kamarie said, I feel like, you know, they need to have a student representing from each district, whether it's from local district south, local district east, whatever the case may be. There needs to be a student representing every single district, because one voice is good. One voice to be on the board is good, but at the end of the day, you need all voices. You need all voices of students, because one voice is like, it puts the foot through the door, but it's not going to go all the way through. And so you need all voices from the students to get that foot through the door, to walk through that door, so that the district knows, okay, wow, our students matter. This is what they need. Okay, let's knock it down.
I just wanted to add that I sit on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and I feel like that's a very diverse group with students from all districts. And on that council, students share their voices, and they're able to talk about what they're concerned about in their schools. And that's a great thing, and it's awesome. I think it's an amazing council, but maybe having more groups like that, or even having that group, maybe expanding it, but also making it more known, because I feel like a lot of students don't know that these opportunities exist. I only found out because a teacher. It's sort of difficult to do your research like that, especially I think when you come from a community like mine, because it's not something that's really talked about. So there should be more of an effort to try to engage students to get involved on councils like that, and to actually speak up, because often students feel like their voice doesn't matter. Like, I'm just one student, I go to this school, like nobody's going to care what I have to say. But letting students know that these opportunities exist is really important, so that we can have diversity of voices and more students will be willing to speak up about their concerns.
Oh, yes, Michelle. I think that is essential, really. There are a lot of students who aren't aware of the opportunities that they have. So, you know, although they may have a like a superintendent advisory council to be a part of, a lot of students don't even know that it's available. So being, you know, they're not going to be involved. But we're going to go ahead and go Kamarie and then Ernesto, and then we'll move on to another question.
I just wanted to quickly add, the way that we're promoting these different opportunities, it has to be super intentional, because like both of you said, like before, I didn't even know if there was a student advisory council. And then I'm like, okay, I want like students at my school to get involved, and it's like other schools. So yeah, we just have to make sure that it actually reaches like these schools and different counselors, and making sure that these students are actually aware of these opportunities, because people are quick to say, you know, these students, maybe they're not that interested in whatnot, but you do not know until you really, you know, present the idea to them. So I just feel like we have to be super intentional about how, you know, we're promoting these different student advisory councils and committees. So yes.
Yeah, I definitely liked a lot of all the ideas that everyone in here said. I think also whenever it comes to the problem of kind of students making their voice heard in different representations and such, I think it's also important to know that we have a lot of different districts in our whole, a lot of sub districts in our whole district, like South, West, Central, etc. But I know definitely for at least my district, I know there's a bunch of other schools, and our school is very different than other schools in our district, and we might have different issues that, let's say, the school 10 streets down might have. So that if, let's say, if we have one member from our district coming to the meetings, well, maybe the school who doesn't have a member coming to those meetings won't ever have their voice heard. So perhaps having like a system where we could have someone or like a group from like every single different school, like kind of putting all their ideas together so that they can all have their voice heard. Otherwise, you're only going to really have a fraction of the district, of the little sub-district, and you won't be able to get like the full scope of what everybody in that little sub-district needs.
No, absolutely. Y'all are like dropping the mic. Absolutely. I think everything you've touched upon is essential. You've given incredible suggestions. And with that, I'm going to pose one more question, and then we're going to go ahead and get into a strict Q&A from the audience. My last question for y'all before the Q&A is, we've discussed representation both inside the classroom and you know, within spaces where students can be involved in the decision making. In your opinion, is there adequate representation of people who look like you or share similar experiences than you in the classroom or in these spaces? I know we touched upon it a little bit, but if anyone wants to expand on that, whether they directly feel represented in these spaces.
Can you pose that? We asked you a question, Katlynn?
Yes. So in your opinion, do you feel there is adequate representation of people who look like you or share similar background experiences to you, both in the classroom and in these spaces outside of the classroom where your voice can be heard?
My answer to that is they think they know. They think they know what we want. And I kind of feel like, you know, we need them. We need those people who are administrators, who are principals, who are teachers, who say that they're advocating for us, who say that they're advocating for us, but in reality they're really not. And to be honest, I don't know if it's you know, they're afraid that their higher up or their boss may say something to them, but at the same time, I believe in my heart, I do honestly believe in my heart that there are people out there who care about the students, and I know that because my teachers we have discussions all the time, but I feel like sometimes, you know, are the adults who actually care about the students are so afraid about what the higher ups may say that, you know, they don't put their voices on the front lines. They don't say those kind of things. And I honestly feel like in my heart that, you know, those who are in the district, who are at district headquarters, you know, they need to they have to be able to make a space for those in the local levels, for those who are teachers, to be able to voice, you know, how the students are feeling, to be an advocate for the students. And within that, I just want to clear the air, because I know that we have some adults in the Zoom. This is not a student uprising. I don't want people to feel like, you know, my voice is here and this is me trying to uprise against the adults. False. I'm here. I'm here because I care about our students. I'm very passionate, and that's why we, as the students here, Kamarie, Michelle, Ernesto, we care about our students, and we're here to advocate for our students. And I believe that's my mission, and that's who we are.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your courageous stories and your courageous voice. This isn't a student uprising, and this event was created so that y'all are able to, you know, put your voices out there. And, you know, just thank you on behalf of myself and all of LAUC for really being here and voicing yourselves. So with that, we're going to go ahead and transition into a strict Q&A session from the audience. I do see we have a couple of questions here in the chat. Are we going to be bringing people in from the audience to speak directly, or will I just be reading from the chat itself?
They can have an opportunity. We can unmute them if they would like to share, or you can read. So if you would like to share, just please raise your hand and we'll unmute you. So Katlynn, why don't you start with the one of the first ones and question, and then if people want to raise their hand, we'll identify them and let them do so.
Okay, perfect. It seems though, due to time, this may be the last question we pose. So I'll leave the floor open for anyone in the audience who wants to unmute before I go ahead and read this question. No one? Okay, well, our final question to wrap up our discussion, we discussed issues of mental health, of resource allocation, of representation and equality. Since now that we've had this discussion, is there anything else that you'd like us as a community, as educators, as administrators, as people working with young folks, is there anything else that you would like us to know?
I have something. When I was growing up, I always thought LAUSD, like the district, was so scary. I was always terrified of it. Whenever papers came, I was like, oh my God, it's from the district. And I would get it was just something scary to me. I don't know why. And as I got older, I got more involved in my community, and I was able to get on platforms where I'm able to share my voice, and I understand that there are people who care. Like, it's not just like this scary building with this scary superintendent. There are people that are willing to listen, and I feel like making that more known to a larger part of the student population would be very beneficial to not only the school district, but to the students, so that they know that they don't have to be scared of the district, because the district is there to help them, especially because I feel like LAUSD is a major building block in many communities. It's not really just a school district. People look to the district for mental health support, community engagement, whatever it may be. It's more than just a school district. And I feel like they need to take steps to sort of not be so scary, especially to younger students, so that they feel that they can be more involved or share their voices.
Thank you, Michelle. Khale, you can go ahead and take the stage.
Thank you, Katlynn, and I know time is crunching, but I just want to say that I believe that not only the district, district headquarters, but the schools and the many different areas in LAUSD, I feel like they need to get to a place where they go out to the community and they speak to the community, because there's a lot of schools that are surrounded by the communities, and a lot of the times, I feel like there's people in the community who wants to help, but because there are faculty members or district board members or whatever the case may be that don't want to hear what they have to say. Not all of them, but some of them, the community members become afraid, and they feel like, okay, well, if they don't want our help, then we're not going to give them, we're not going to help at all. And so I feel like, not only the district headquarters, but the schools need to talk with community members and then talk with different families and say, hey, what's your ideas? How can we help, and things like that.
Thank you so much. I'm going to leave it open for one more student if you would like to answer the question that was posed.
I actually wanted to answer the question that you asked earlier about, do we feel that we're represented in the classroom and outside of the classroom? For me, I think it depends on a when and where type of situation, specifically in classrooms, because I feel like ethnic studies is just something I think it was a controversial topic, but I feel like it's something that, like, why are we still fighting for ethnic studies? It should be something that, should just be implemented in the classrooms. It's about getting to know, everyone around you, the different cultures, the different heritages. And I just feel like when it comes to like ethnic studies, especially at my school, not being a thing or not a class, I just feel like, no, like, how I go to this school and I'm not even learning about not only where I come from, but everybody around me. So yeah, I just want to leave it off with that note. Just because ethnic studies is not implemented in the curriculum at my school, I don't feel represented. But some in other spaces, like when there are like different conversations about what do we think we need or what do we feel should be implemented, then that's when I start to feel a little bit more included. But yeah.
Thank you so much for your candid and honest response. I'm getting knowledge that we do have one individual in the audience who would like to pose a question. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it to you, Kamarie. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kamarie Norrington Sands. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist for the district. And I just want to say to all of you how proud I am that you have unapologetically, given your perspectives and just, unfiltered and just spoke truth to power. So I just want to say thank you. And I also want to, as a mental health professional, that it's so important that we recognize how important mental health and wellness is, especially during this time that we're experiencing collective trauma. So I just want to thank you. And I'm so inspired by all of you, and that, we see you, we hear you, we value you. And so I just want to just keep encouraging you to speak truth to power.
Thank you, Kamarie. And with that concludes our panel. Thank you all so much for being present with us today. It was an honor for me to moderate and MC. And a huge thank you to all of our panelists. I'm incredibly, incredibly proud of you all. With that, I'm going to go ahead and give it off to Dr. Woods for concluding remarks.
Yes, all I can say is, wow. I just want to thank Katlynn, our moderator, Michelle, Kamarie, Ernesto, and Khale. Our students gave us just an opportunity to hear their courageous voices. They have so much confidence, poise, leadership, and the intentionality I heard that has given me such pride and then hope for the future. I thank you for your honesty, like I said, your perseverance, and just your truthfulness. Being able to share with us all that you feel, and we heard you. If you cannot meet the heart, you can't meet the mind. So again, appreciate you for all you have done today.
And with that being said, thank you so very much. You stated that you wanted to be an advocate for students, and you almost definitely are. All of you, Kamarie, Michelle, Ernesto, Katlynn, Khale, you all are excellent examples of what it is we all hope that students are when they leave our spaces. Thank you all very much.